Introduction. This book is not for everyone. This book is released as a gift to those people who have been willing to at least contemplate the old saying that if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. This book is especially for people who have also been willing to contemplate the saying that you cannot solve a problem with the same state of consciousness that created the problem. Once you ascend to the level of awareness where you begin to realize that all problems seen on earth are the products of a certain state of consciousness, you can then begin to at least glimpse the fact that in order for humankind to find viable solutions to its many problems, there must be a willingness to reach for a higher level of consciousness than the level that precipitated the current problems. Certainly, there are many people who would instantly object to what I am implying here. They would instantly object to the mere hint that the problems you see on earth could be created by a state of consciousness, for they have been brought up in a thought system which denies the role of consciousness. This might be a religious system which says that the earth in its current form was created by God, and thus it is beyond the powers of man to influence the conditions you see in nature or even on a planetary scale. It may also be people who have been brought up in a materialistic thought system which says that consciousness is a product of matter, the matter in the brain, and therefore consciousness does not have the power to influence the matter that is its cause. So can you begin to see that this book is not for people who are stuck in the mental box created by traditional religions, nor is it for people who are stuck in the mental box created by materialism. This book is specifically for people who have at least begun to realize that there must be something more to understand about life than what has been defined in either of these mental boxes. And thus they have begun to realize that in order for humankind to solve the serious problems you see on earth, in anything from natural disasters to environmental problems to problems in society, well then there must be a new approach. For these people have begun to realize that the approaches that have been taken so far to these serious problems have not brought forth a solution, and thus these people have either already realized or could very quickly realize that the only explanation for the fact that no solution has been found must be that human beings have not taken the right approach to these problems. If human beings are trying to solve a problem from the state of consciousness that precipitated the problem, then is it not obvious why no solution has been forthcoming? And thus, if a solution is to be found, there must be those people who are willing to reach beyond the mental box that precipitated the problem. It is precisely for people who have ascended to this level of awareness and self-awareness that this book is given. Who then is the I that is speaking? I am a spiritual being. I am an ascended being. I reside in a realm of energy frequencies that vibrates far beyond the level of what you experience through your physical senses. I am speaking this book through a messenger who has been specifically trained to raise his consciousness and attune it to the higher frequencies in which I reside. Thus I can use his mind and vocal cords as an open door for bringing forth this message. If you are open to the existence of spiritual beings, and if you are open to the possibility that we can bring forth messages in various ways, then this book is for you. If you are not open to this possibility, then this book has nothing to offer you, as I will not in any way seek to justify or explain my existence. It is not my intention with this book to argue for or against certain viewpoints brought forth by the dominant thought systems of the Western world. namely mainstream Christianity and scientific materialism. My purpose for this book is not to present an argument, but to present truth that can enlighten those who have already opened their minds to a higher understanding than what has been given in the traditional thought systems. If you are not among these people, simply go in peace, as I am in no way seeking to imply that there is anything wrong with you being in your current state of consciousness. The simple reality is that the Word must stand on its own. The living Word that I give in this book will either resonate with something within you or it will not. If it does resonate with something within your own being, then you will recognize the vibration of truth in the Word I am giving you. If it does not resonate with something in your own being, then you will not recognize it as truth, and you will therefore begin to argue against it with your outer mind. If you desire to engage in this exercise, I respectfully bow to your free will, yet I will not in any way seek to cater to those who wish to argue rather than seeking to know. Truth is beyond human argumentation, for one simple reason. Those who argue do so because their minds are trapped in a certain mental box. This mental box gives them a certain view, a certain perception of the world. They believe that their view, that their perception of the world is either the highest possible one or the only true one, and thus they are seeking to impose and project their view upon other human beings. They also feel threatened by people who will not agree with their view, and thus they might engage in various uses of force in order to get other people to conform. This is indeed what has created all of the religious or political struggles seen throughout history. One group of people feeling justified in seeking to impose their views upon others, even if it entails using violence or other kinds of force. I am an ascended being, which means I am above and beyond this dualistic struggle for security. I have security in knowing who I am, in having attained oneness with the reality that is beyond the mental boxes of human beings. There are many people on earth, in fact millions of people on earth, who are also at the level or close to the level where they realize that there is a reality beyond the mental boxes defined by human beings. These are the people who have begun to tune in their own hearts to that higher reality. They may have different ways of looking at or defining this higher reality, but they all have one thing in common. They have at least glimpsed that this higher reality is made up of vibrations that are beyond any, and thus they have a frame of reference based on vibration itself. And this is what enables them to tune in to and acknowledge the vibration of truth in my word. I am an ascended being. The name that I have used in most cases when speaking to human beings on earth is the name Mother Mary. This reflects the fact that my last embodiment on earth, my last embodiment out of many embodiments on earth, was as the mother of the being you know as Jesus. During that embodiment, it was my mission to hold the vision for Jesus reaching a certain level of consciousness and thus fulfilling the mission he came to fulfill. Despite what you might have been brought up to believe, Jesus' mission had a very specific purpose. That purpose was to demonstrate the potential that all human beings have for reaching a higher state of consciousness. What exactly was the state of consciousness that Jesus came to demonstrate? It is a state of consciousness in which you have begun to realize one simple truth, namely that the human mind has the potential to attain power over matter. Certainly many people in the modern world have been brought up to look with either indifference or skepticism upon the so-called miracles performed by Jesus. Yet I tell you that these so-called miracles were not miracles at all. They were the application of a natural law. However, this natural law will not work for people who are below a certain threshold of awareness. It is only when your level of consciousness reaches beyond a certain threshold that you become able to put this natural law into motion, and only then will your mind have power over matter. So this is truly what Jesus came to demonstrate, namely that the human mind has far greater powers than most people suspect. And perhaps you can begin to see how this ties in with my opening remarks about not trying to solve a problem with the same state of consciousness that precipitated the problem. The problems you currently see on Earth were all precipitated from a certain level of consciousness. As long as you look at those problems from within that mental box, the solutions you can see will all be defined by the mental box. And thus you will indeed be seeking to solve a problem with the same state of consciousness that created the problem. This, of course, cannot bring forth a viable solution. For you will inevitably define the cause of the problem as certain other people, and then you will engage in a dualistic struggle to force them to change their ways, and thereby, according to your limited vision, bring forth a solution to the problem. Yet I can assure you that when you look at the history of humankind, it becomes obvious that people who are trapped in this dualistic struggle have never brought forth true solutions to any problems. True solutions have been brought forth only by the people who are willing to reach beyond the mental box of their time and society and look for a new approach. There was a time when most people on Earth believed the Earth was a flat disk. Yet there were those who were willing to look through a telescope and study the heaven world. They used the mind's reasoning ability to see that something did not add up, that it simply could not be true that the Earth was the center of the universe with the sun and the stars revolving around it. There were those who looked at other conditions known at the time and reasoned that it could not be true that you could sail to the edge of the earth and fall off. And so these people became the forerunners for a shift in the collective awareness that eventually caused virtually all people to accept that the earth is indeed round. This then is the only way to bring forth true solutions. You must rise to a higher level of consciousness than the level of consciousness that precipitated the problem. From that higher level of consciousness, you will understand the cause of a problem in a way that you could never do while you were looking at the problem from inside the mental box. And thus, from your higher perspective, the solution to the problem will become obvious. This is indeed the central message behind the mission of Jesus Christ. It was not a mission that was intended to be turned into another dogmatic church. It was intended to be a universal mission that could help all people rise beyond their present level of consciousness and continue to do so until they had finally transcended any and all of the mental boxes created on earth. This was also what Jesus demonstrated when he gave up the ghost and thus rose above the level of energy that could be perceived by human beings still stuck in their mental boxes. The entire symbol of Jesus ascending to heaven was indeed meant to outpicture that Jesus rose to a level of self-awareness that is beyond what most human beings can perceive. Yet this level of awareness is indeed as real as anything you perceive on earth. In fact, it is more real than anything you perceive on earth. My point then is that in my last embodiment as Mary, the mother of Jesus, I fulfilled my mission of holding the vision for Jesus and his ascent to a higher state of consciousness. After that embodiment, I also ascended to a higher level of consciousness that Jesus rose to. I have since then been an ascended master, and I have now lovingly volunteered to take on a particular spiritual office for planet Earth. The office I hold is that of the Divine Mother for planet Earth. This office has various aspects which I will explain throughout this book. Yet one of these aspects is, indeed, that I now hold the vision for all human beings that I held for Jesus in my last embodiment. I am holding the vision that all who are willing can indeed ascend to a higher level of consciousness. I am holding the vision that during this age, during these coming crucial decades, there will indeed be a critical mass among humankind who will raise their consciousness beyond the mental boxes that have created the problems you see on earth. And by these people being willing to be the forerunners, there will be a shift in the collective awareness. There will be an awakening which will be even more dramatic than what you saw in the Enlightenment, the Renaissance, and the Scientific Revolution. The potential for this present time is indeed an awakening that is unprecedented in human history. This awakening can be an awakening to a greater awareness of the full human potential. Yet the prerequisite for this awakening happening is that there must be a critical mass of people who are willing to go beyond their present mental box and consider the full potential of the human mind, or should we say the spiritual mind expressed through human bodies. If you are concerned about environmental problems, if you are concerned about natural disasters, if you are concerned about the potential for the end of the world, or if you are concerned about the economy or other social problems, then I can assure you that the only real solution is to raise your consciousness to a higher level so that you will gain a different perspective on the problems that you see. By coming to understand the real cause of the problems, you will also gain a new vision of the potential solutions, the real solutions that will not only remove the problem, but that will help humankind rise to a higher level of collective consciousness, so that the problem is no longer created and recreated over and over again. This, then, is the purpose for this book, namely to offer those who are open, those who are willing, a different perspective on the problems that relate to the physical planet upon which you live. If you are in any way concerned about Mother Earth and about the way human beings relate to Mother Earth, then this book will offer you a different perspective. May you receive this gift in the same spirit from which the book is given.